right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in to True Stories that I remember perfectly. I'm in my basement. This looks like a nice studio and everything, but I'm literally in my basement. And I'm having a bourbon, and I wrote down a list of some of my favorite stories, and I'm going to share them with you tonight. So, first of all, I want you all to know that this, my friends, is a fundraiser. So, please donate to, you know where to donate to. This is all for the Mid-Ohio Food Collective. They used to be Mid-Ohio Food Bank. And I'm going to type in the comments right now my Streamlabs donation page. So if you donate anything to me or to directly to Mid-Ohio Food Bank tonight, they're going to double that donation. So we're going to raise some money for people who are food insecure. So I'm just going to write real quick in here. Now, as I do this, you're going to see my screen jump all over the place. There you go. So if you donate there, the place that I just put up, hey, we got some folks in. If you donate to streamlabs.com/KentMagic during this show, they make it super easy. I won't double, but there are sponsors that Mid-Ohio Food Collective has that they will double any donation that you give. So hopefully we'll raise some money for them tonight. They're doing some amazing things as a COVID-19 emergency relief fund. So here we are. I tried to pick stories that either I hadn't told in a long time or I hadn't told at all. So there are some stories, there's at least one in here that I've never told like anybody in any sort of public medium. This is stories that I have just literally only told friends. So that's pretty exciting for me. But the story that I'm going to tell you first, the very, very first story that I'm going to talk about is something that happened 2003. So for those of you who know me and who have met me and hung out with me, you probably know that I'm a diehard Buckeye fan, and I actually played the drums in the marching band at Ohio State. I played for 5 years. I got cut my rookie year, my freshman year of college. I got cut from the band, and I made the band my sophomore year. Ended up doing 5 years, and my last game was the national championship game in Tempe, Arizona, against the University of Miami, the U, and many people remember that game. And because Jim Tressel was so freaking awesome, he made sure that the entire band was able to get these. Check this out. This is the national championship ring from that year. Now, I'm bringing this up for a reason. This isn't just show and tell, like, look at all my cool stuff. So I'm super proud of having this. This was sort of like my graduation ring in a way. I had already graduated. I graduated the previous year. I graduated in 2001, re-enrolled so I could be in the band again. So, and I've got so many friends in here. I'm going to just pull up that chat again because I want to show off everyone who's saying hello right now. We've got my friends. Let's see, we got Drew Murray in here, a good magician friend of mine. We got Kelly Blanton and Jason are here, and Mary Kay, who I knew in college. We had a mutual friend in college. She says, "Go Bucks." But I want you to notice something on this ring. This is going to become important. It says my name on this side. That's going to become important to this story in just a minute. So, anywho, the magic that I was doing at the time was restaurant magic. That's all I was doing in terms of magic shows. I was doing 4 nights a week performing in restaurants. I was doing that during my 5th year of the marching band, which was already crazy time commitment. But I would leave from band practice that year in 2002, the 2002 season. I would leave from band practice and go and perform at different restaurants around Columbus 4 nights a week. And on Friday and Saturday night, actually it was just, what was it? Friday nights, I would do Buckeye Hall of Fame Cafe. Not every Friday, because some of them I couldn't do it. With the way that the band practices on Friday night, I couldn't always do it. But the following year, I was doing that Friday and Saturday night. Now, Buckeye Hall of Fame Cafe was a Buckeye-themed restaurant. The building no longer exists. They tore it down, built a hotel. but it was full of Buckeye memorabilia, and it was kind of like a Dave & Buster's, which is, Dave & Buster's is the setting for another one of tonight's stories. So it's an adult game room, right? Like, there's all kinds of amazing games in the back. In the front is a great restaurant and a super hoppin' bar. And on Friday nights before game day, that place was hoppin'. So that brings us to me performing magic for all of these people. Now, I would have this in my pocket all the time when I would do that gig, that 2003 fall, right? I wasn't in the band anymore. It was the season after that. And this would be in my back pocket because it was an amazing conversation piece when I would bring up the band and talk about the Buckeyes and all that type of thing. So enter a table full of people that looked familiar. Now, immediately, I recognized Paul Keels. Paul Keels is the voice of the Buckeyes. If you ever listen to the Buckeyes on TV or the radio, Paul Keels is this guy. I'll show you a picture of Paul. Let me find a good picture. There we go. So the guy here at the top, this guy right here, is Paul Keels. You recognize his voice more than you recognize his picture. He's also Buckeye alumni, was also on a championship team along with Jim Carsados, this other guy right here, who does Jim would broadcast from the sidelines a lot of the time and do a lot of those types of interviews. These two guys were sitting at a table along with, I'm sure, other NFL players. Jim Carsados was like the head of the NFL Alumni Association at the time, and which was actually, he was based here in Columbus. But this whole table of former players, announcers, Buckeye people, like big Buckeye people. And I look at Paul Keels' finger, and he's wearing one of these. Tressel had made sure that he got one of these as well. So going back to the side of this thing, my ring saying Kent and his saying Keels were darn near identical rings. Everything else about that ring, exactly the same. It's got 14-0 right here. And on here, even though it had nothing to do with the actual game, the championship game, it's got the Michigan score, 14-9. So I see his ring, and I noted that I've got a near identical ring to that one in my back pocket. So I say, I just played it cool. There's no reason any of these people would know me or know that I was in the marching band or would ever guess that I have one of these. So I said, hey, Mr. Keels, can I see that ring? And he started to say, yeah, here, I'll hand it to you. And I was getting this out of my back pocket secretly. So I'm reaching back here. And I said, no, I don't want to touch it. I'd probably break it or something. I don't want to touch it. Would you just hold it in your hand? I want to see it. Now, I had already done a card trick for them. They knew I was a magician. So I said, here's what we're going to do. And meanwhile, I've got this secretly in my hand like this. And I said, I want you to squeeze your hand around that ring, and I'm never going to touch you. And I went like this, and I said, all I need is a quick fist bump, and don't open your hand, whatever you do. He said, okay, in his Paul Keels voice. I fist bumped him like this. Real quickly, I opened my hand, and I go, I got it. And then I closed my hand, and I bumped him again. I said, is it back? And he opened his hand. He never felt it go. He's confused as hell. Everyone at the table, jaws on the table, they were freaking out because I never touched that ring, but I got it into my hand and I put it back into his. And that, my friends, is the best magic trick that I never did. And that's what I call that story, because some of these things are stories of, like, you know, where I had good fortune, and that was one of them. It was kind of like a right place at the right time type of thing. And that's the best magic trick that I never did. So anywho, I want to ask a question. Now, when this posted, did the it looks like the donation bar didn't come up on it. So I want you to scroll up on the chat. Notice that it says streamlabs.com/KentMagic. If you click that, you can donate. And when you donate, something really cool happens. It gets matched. Anything that you donate during this show tonight will get doubled, and then we will donate all of that money to the Mid-Ohio Food Bank, now known as the Mid-Ohio Food collective because they incorporate a lot of other cool stuff like a farm and a restaurant and all these other things. It's much more than a food bank. They're a client of mine, awesome facility. So we have some great comments. Carrie says, my family are here. Hey, fam. Mary Kay, totally picturing this. Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I walked away like I had just gotten away with something. So that's the best magic trick I never did. I want to tell you about my drink right now. I'm really big into old fashions currently. So anytime you see me with a mixed drink like this, it's usually an old fashioned. And just because I set up an old fashioned cam. So we're going to keep progress during the show. Here's my old fashioned cam. We're going to keep progress of the drink as the show goes along. And so for right now, I literally just made it before the show started. So for right now, it's hanging in there. It's doing okay. Let's see who we've got in the room. Let's see. We've got, 31 people. That's great. Glad that we've got some people that are watching and some people that are saying hello. Now, this isn't a story in tonight's show, but I want to explain the comment that just came up on the screen. If you look right here, peanut butter jelly. Durwood Bowen was a star of my show for years because I caught a video of him in the audience dancing to that song. And I played the video and I told the story in my show for probably 3 years after that. So in my college tours, there was a particular show that I remember like more than anything, because anytime anyone mentions this city, I think about that show. And what I remember the most wasn't the show itself, but it was what happened before the show that morning. Keene, New Hampshire, I will always associate with poop. Hear me out. Keene, New Hampshire is a little town in New Hampshire that has Keene State University, which is a college. And Keene State University was I was performing for their siblings weekend. I had rented a car. For some reason, I remember it was like a powder blue Mercury or something. It was something that was not your standard rental car. It was like it was way too big, and I was 30 years old, 32 years old, and driving this like giant jalopy. And I woke up in the morning at my hotel in Keene, New Hampshire, and I walked out to the car, and there was poop on it. Like poop. Not like bird poop, not like cat or dog poop. Well, it could have been dog poop, but it was a full log, y'all. It was a big poop. And I didn't see it. That's sort of where the story begins. I didn't see the poop, but it was sitting on the bottom of my windshield, like along where the windshield and the windshield wiper are. It was like on the windshield wiper, like a full log of poop on the car. And I'm driving around Keene, New Hampshire with a poop on my car. And I go through the Wendy's because I wanted to get a drink before I go to the show. And I go through the drive-thru at Wendy's and I roll down the window. And my first thought is, oh my God, this Wendy's smells like shit. And what I didn't realize at the time is they were thinking, oh my God, this guy's car smells like shit. And I rolled up the window, and then it started to sprinkle. Once it started to sprinkle, I turned on my windshield wiper, and I created what I will forever associate Keene, New Hampshire with, and what I will forever call the turd rainbow. I'm going to show you the turd rainbow. That's it. That's the turd rainbow. I actually took a picture of it. And we could zoom in on this, I guess, and we could really like try to figure out what this is. Let's really zoom in and see. What do you think? I mean, that is a full poo, right? Okay, that's enough of that. Let's get rid of that. It was a full poo. It was a full-on hardcore log, and it was all the way across my windshield. Now, that's pretty much the story, but me being the cheap person that I am, as far as traveling and like I don't stay in the ritzy places. I don't rent the giant cars or the super nice cars. I left it on there, and I didn't go through the car wash, and I returned it just like that. I drove back to the Manchester, New Hampshire airport with the car like that. But how does that happen? You guys, how does that... Who puts a poo on a car? But I think I figured it out, because next to my hotel, there was a car wash. So what if there was a dude with a bag of poo, and he was drumming up business by putting them on all the windshields? What if? Just a thought. Just a thought. I don't know if that's true or not. Okay. Let's go to the chat. Let's see what people are saying. It's good to have you all here. It's cool. Welcome to my basement, you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have friends here. We have friends. Someone said, "Hey, Mike, that's awesome. Thank you very much for saying hello." Mary Kay says, "What the hell? That's gross." Lance Thompson says, "You nasty." No, Lance, you nasty, my friend. But like in the Janet Jackson way. The Rainbow Connection Kermit will not be singing about. That is very funny, Durwood. You guys go check out Durwood Bowen. Sometimes Google him. He makes comedy parody songs. They're super funny. Brianna Aldridge, I went to high school with. Super cool to see you all here. Let's check out the Bourbon Cam, and then I'm going to go on, and I'm going to tell you some more stories. All right, the Bourbon Cam is lacking here. There we go. Let's get the cherry. Okay, there we go. Perfect. This is ridiculous. I'm just having fun. So the reason I did the show is because, well, A, I wanted to do like a fundraiser for people, and B, I've been doing these paid magic shows, and no one gets to see them except for the 100, 200 people from a college that tune in. And I wanted to do something free for folks while they're sitting at home. Y'all might still be quarantined at home or have a stay-at-home order or whatever, so figured maybe some people could get enjoyment out of this. This next story, I have literally never told anyone. I have never told anyone this story. Oh, Neil, good to see you again, too. This is my buddy Neil from Shadowbox Live. Oh, let's pull up. Oh, we got a lot of comments. There we go. Mark wants to know, does Durwood do poop songs? I don't know about that. I know he does some songs about pizza delivery and things, but I don't know. I used to do magic when I was... This goes back to whenever I was... doing restaurant magic, and I used to perform at a Dave & Buster's. I used to perform there after Buckeye Hall of Fame Cafe. I replaced one adult arcade with another adult arcade Friday and Saturday nights for 3 hours a night. I would do close-up strolling magic in Dave & Buster's. I would literally go up to tables and do close-up magic while people were waiting for their food. They paid me to do this, and it was awesome. It was an amazing experience. I loved doing it. I got paid decent for, I was like a single guy, just graduated from college. It was awesome. So, and I would make amazing tips because there were so many bachelorette and bachelor parties that would be these tables of 15, 20 people that I would do a huge, like a 10-minute set for, and then they would tip me like $50 at the end of that. I would walk out of there with more money in tips than than the restaurant was paying me to be there in the first place. And I loved the energy and the vibe at Dave & Buster's when I was doing magic in there. And when something would happen in Dave & Buster's, the whole room kind of felt that vibe. And one night, this was early, so this was about third year that the Columbus Blue Jackets were in existence, right? So we're talking like 2003, somewhere in there. 2004 probably, this was. And everyone is buzzing, the Blue Jackets are at the bar. Like, what? I'm hearing it in the restaurant, which was far away from the bar. I heard it at like 3 different tables. Hey, did you hear the Blue Jackets are over there? Like, who's there? Yeah, our new rookie, Rick Nash, is there. Cool. Rick Nash, I've heard the name. I don't know what Rick Nash looks like, but he's at the bar. That's awesome. For those 2 or 3 hours, that whole night, everyone knew about this. And like I said, I was a young single guy. At 10 o'clock, I was like, I'm going to go to the bar and have a few drinks. I knew the bartenders. They were both super nice guys. And I sat down, and Rick Nash wants to see magic. So I'm showing Rick Nash magic tricks. This new NHL rookie, Columbus Blue Jackets, big deal, new franchise in town. And I did my best trick, the card in the shoe, for Rick Nash. And he bought me a drink. And he bought everyone at the bar around. he was like, all right, that was an amazing magic trick. Drinks on me. And everyone's like, woohoo! And we partied. I think I just had the one drink, and then everyone was just going nuts. I had a great time. Got in my car, drove home. That was a Saturday night, I believe. The next week, I came in on Friday, and the general manager wants to see me in his office. He said, Michael, we had an issue last weekend. Did Rick Nash buy you a drink? And I was like, well, yeah, but he just bought me one drink. I wasn't drinking on the job. Like, I was done with my shift. And then after that, I hung out. I took my jacket off, and I sat down and had a drink. And he goes, that's not the issue. He goes, they skipped out on a $3,000 bar tab, and it wasn't Rick Nash. Some dude and all his buddies, preying on the fact that nobody in Columbus knows anything about hockey, went into Dave & Buster's and created a rumor, a grassroots rumor, an organic, mouth-fed rumor around the restaurant that Rick Nash was at the bar and buying people drinks, and they were all wearing Blue Jackets stuff, like Blue Jackets like warm-ups and stuff, and they were buying drinks for everyone, and they skipped out on the bar tab. Unbelievable. He said, and they fired one of the bartenders, and he wanted to know my involvement in it. But he said, you just watch yourself. Like, the general manager was so mad. They lost money and everything else. Crazy, crazy, crazy scam. Unbelievable. And there is another pretty crazy scam that happened to me that didn't cost as much money, but maybe more in damages. And I'll tell that story in a little bit. But for now, let's check in with the chat. Let's say hello to some folks who are just coming in. I love telling stories. These are some of the stories that I've collected throughout my career doing magic. Omar says, dude, you're awesome. These stories are truly keeping me in a great vibe. Oh, awesome, Omar. I appreciate that, man. Mary Kay says, shut the F up. I will not until all my stories are gone. And Mark says, oh, no. Oh, yes, that really, really happened. And I've never told that story. Now, Richard Ebert, who is a friend of mine from my hometown of Urbana, Ohio, he wants me to tell a story about a high school marching band, like how my name is still painted in the percussion room. That's a quick story. There is a loft in the old percussion room, in the old band room of my high school, that I used to take naps in. I carpeted it myself with like carpet squares, and I used to go in there and take naps. I don't know how I got away with that, but I did. And I was like the band president, so I called it Mikey's Presidential Loft. And if you go in there today, 30 years later, 25 years later, it still says that. So that's one of many bad habits I started in my high school marching band. Some of the others are some horrible cadences that I wrote. So thanks for joining, everyone. Hey, I want to remind you all, there is... I'm going to type it again. So you're going to see the screen here go crazy, because when I type, different weird stuff happens. I can do it this way. So if you go to streamlabs.com/KentMagic, if you go there, it's going to come up on the screen. That will let you donate money, and anything that you donate will get doubled and sent to the Mid-Ohio Food Collective. So Mid-Ohio Food Collective is... it's a food bank, but it's so much more. They also have a restaurant. They also have a farm. They have so many things. It's the Mid-Ohio Food Collective, and we're raising money for them tonight during this show. So please give money at the link that I just provided, streamlabs.com/KentMagic. And if you donate, it will double. Anything you donate will double for Mid-Ohio Food Collective. And so if you don't mind, I would like to share a brief video, a brief word from the Mid-Ohio Food Bank.
Thank you for joining me here at the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. We clearly are in extraordinary times, and we have stepped up and have changed all of the way we're working as a food bank and our partner agencies to get food to people that need it. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Yet we realize people need help right now, so we have been ordering food and boxing that with amazing help of the National Guard to get those food boxes out to people's cars. We are pre-bagging the produce and getting it to them. We're connecting to the homeless community that needs more meals as they separate and spread out, some of the sheltering. We're connecting to kids, that are getting food from the schools by having fresh produce there, and we're delivering food to seniors that are home and isolated. This is all about how we as a community stay connected, and that's what this is about. We've got a unique opportunity while we're social distancing for you to help, and that simply is we have a match fund. It was created by some amazing sponsors, and between now and April 30th, we will be matching so that you will double your impact of your donation. Please stay with us, stay home, stay safe, and most importantly, stay connected.
All right, thank you, Matt. That was awesome. I'm going to see if while I'm doing this, I can also add, I don't know if I can edit while I'm, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to see if I can edit the description to add a donation button on here, and I don't think I can. Okay, so never mind. Anywho, I wanted to tell a few stories also about a couple of bad things that have happened to me while doing magic, because I think that's interesting, right? We can all enjoy each other's misfortune. So one of my very first shows was at a school, an elementary school. And I used to have a frying pan. I would take an egg and crack it on the frying pan, and there would be a flame. And the flame would shoot up, and then the flame would go out, and there'd be a bird sitting on the edge of this frying pan. It was an awesome trick, and one of the things that when I had a dove is you would trim the edges of its wings, and when you would trim the edges of the wings, it would flap but not fly. To me, as an adult, it seems super cruel, but I guess that's what they do. I don't know any professional dove work. Like, I don't know, I'm not close enough with professional dove workers now to know if that's still a thing, but like 30 years ago, that was a thing. Not 30, I'm not that, it's 20, 25. So what happened in this elementary school show was I did that. The dove jumped to the front of the pan. This is where it normally would just flap its wings, and it took off. And there's a bunch of school kids. And the thing flew around the room, and it did a perfect circle, and I went like this. And the damn thing came up and perched on my outstretched finger. And so I grabbed it, and I took a bow, and I pretended that that I meant to do that. So two more quick stories about misfortune. Omar's going to help me get the thing. Okay, let's see. If you click on the comment and hold it, you should be able to pin that link. Oh, thank you so much. Let's do... Oh, I can pin it? I'm not sure. I'm clicking and holding, and it's not oh, pin. There's actual pin button. Okay, boom. There you go. Streamlabs.com/KentMagic. I have pinned the link. Thank you, Omar. So James Lang is a high school percussion teacher, and he says that most high school percussionists don't do that, and they think most high school percussionists do that, and they think that he doesn't know, but he does. So that's what happens, especially in concert band season when you got like rests for 3/4 of a song. Come on. Anywho, let's keep on going. People ask me the worst thing that's ever happened, if I've ever made a mistake in a show, and the answer is absolutely yes, but most of the time you don't know it. One such instance was when I was in college, and I used to do an illusion called the Miss Maid Lady. The Miss Maid Lady illusion, I would put a girl in a box, stick a bunch of blades all through the boxes in 4 different places, and then rearrange her body. So I would take the boxes apart and put her head down here and her legs up here. And I actually have a photo of me doing this. Here's me. This is me with, let me see if I can get out of the way. That is frosted tips, braces, which you can't see. White linen pants, folks. White linen pants. This is me as Smash Mouth. And this was my friend Ginger, who was, we were opening for the Drifters in this particular performance up in the Cleveland Rib Fest or something like that. But we were doing this illusion in college, and I was, at the time, I had taught a girl that I was dating how to do this trick. And I don't want to get into how the trick is done, but I do want to tell you about what happened. Before the show, we were performing for a Rotary Club, and it was back in my hometown of Urbana. And before the show, she had gone outside and gotten high and not told me. So I'm going to keep her name out of this. She gets in the box during the show and was so like out of it or relaxed or whatever that she missed all the music cues. And that's important because the first thing that she has to do is when she gets in that box, again, without giving away the secret, she has to listen for me to knock 3 times. And when I knock 3 times, my dogs are barking. But that's the cue now. As a 41-year-old, that's the cue when you knock 3 times. But as like a 19-year-old, that meant she had to duck. Because what I was about to do is take 2 stainless steel blades and put them into the box from each side. I did the back one, and then I did the front one. When I did the back one, she had not moved. She missed my cue. When I slammed it, I hit her in the back of the head. Right? Feel the back of your head right now. You know that little bony bump thing? I don't know what that is. Maybe there's a doctor in the chat that can tell me what that is. But what happens, medically speaking, I've been watching these daily press briefings, and I'm like pretty much a doctor now. Medically speaking, when you shove a steel blade into that on a 19-year-old girl, she passes out. And that's what happened. She collapsed. And I knew it immediately because I felt it, and then I heard her down at the bottom. Now, the irony of this situation is that the next place that she needs to be in order to complete this illusion is crumpled up in a ball in the bottom of the boxes. So, by the end of the illusion, now remember, this thing, there's different body parts on different, like, you can see the body parts, right? None of that was there. There was a crumpled up body of a person in the bottom of the box. She was fine, but she was not happy, and she was crumpled up, and none of those body parts were there. So, normally I would open these doors one at a time and look at the audience like, oh, but I couldn't do that. So I'd open up, and I saw that there's nothing there, and so I closed it, and I pantomimed to the audience. Or I went, so like they had to take my word for it that those body parts were there because the boxes had been mixed up. They had to really be paying close attention. And then by the end of the song, she had gotten back into the position and stepped out and was smiling and everything. And the audience, super confused. I was super angry, and she was super stoned. So that is the story about whenever I very, very first screwed up my first illusion. And that's like pretty much the worst thing probably that's happened to me on stage. You guys, we've had some awesome donations here, and I just want to pull these up on the screen. Kelly and Jason Blanton and Mark Wolf have both donated, and we really do appreciate that. Also, please like and subscribe to my Facebook. I really do appreciate that. That's not why I'm doing this, but I really do appreciate it. While you're here, make sure you go to Michael Kent Fans and follow that page, and you can keep up to date with my career type stuff that I'm doing. So I do have another tale of misfortune, and I almost always forget about this story because I was laughing at the time. I used to do a rope trick, and in that rope trick, I would have 2 volunteers on stage holding a rope. And I have video of this, I think. Oh, I do, yes. So this is me introducing the rope trick. This was old. This is old. This is a video from a long time ago. But in any case, 2 volunteers on stage holding each end of a rope. I cut the rope, I tie it in a knot, I slide the knot to the other end of the rope, and I untie it there. Really simple plot. But, hold on. I haven't looked at this for a minute. We've got to go to the bourbon cam. There's the bourbon cam. We're making some progress on this guy right here. All right. On this particular night, as I went to cut the rope, for some reason, my thumb got caught in the scissors. And when my thumb got caught in the scissors, it didn't bleed. You ever cut yourself like really with something really sharp and it doesn't bleed right away? That's what happened, because I felt it. It didn't sting too bad, but it stung a little bit. And I looked down and I could see a big flap of skin on my thumb. And as the flap of skin is on my thumb, sort of hanging there, it's not bleeding yet. And so I continue the trick. I tie the knot, and I'm sliding the knot down the rope. And that's when I see the blood, because the rope is turning red. And in my hand, the blood is pooled. There's pooled blood in my hand, and it's dripping. It's all of a sudden turned into a gusher. It got like, it was, I guess because I was on stage and my blood was pumping or something, it was just gushing. And there's blood on the rope all the way across. There's blood on the stage. There's blood pooled in my hand. And at that point, I get near the other assistant holding the rope. I've just pulled from the audience. I haven't set this up with them. I haven't asked them if they'll be in the trick or anything until just then, right? And I said, I think I cut my thumb. And she laughed. And then she glanced at my thumb and she saw the blood and she jumped and she goes, oh my God. And I didn't want her to freak out. So I said, I think it'll be okay. And that's when I told the audience, I think I cut my thumb and I'd like a Band-Aid if anyone has one. And they were laughing. They didn't see the blood, I guess, and they didn't give me a Band-Aid. And so I started sucking on my thumb for the next like 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the trick before someone actually saw it and gave me a Band-Aid. So you'll see in this video, this is where, well, first of all, this is just me posing and mugging. This is where I cut my thumb. Boom. You can't, I say watch as I close this, you can't see anything there, but that was it. I looked at it, nothing there. This is where I tie the knot, and the panic begins somewhere, and I was still able to apparently do all the comedy. The panic begins here, because this is where I start to see the blood right there. And I'm looking at my thumb right there, and I'm holding it out. See, I'm holding my left thumb out, and then I start sliding it. And this is where there's blood on the rope, where I'm holding it. Blood all in my fingers by now. And I can tell by the way I'm holding that rope just from watching this video, that's not the way I normally do it. And this is where I told her, I think I cut my thumb. I don't know who was doing this video, but they didn't do a very good job of. That's where she saw the blood. Yeah, that's me just calming her down. Yeah, okay, anyway. That's one of the other, like, pretty bad things that had happened to me while on stage. You guys, we have some more donations. This is awesome. Anything that you donate will be completely doubled. There's a dollar for dollar match on anything you donate to the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. Dan Scott says I need a refill on my bourbon. Let's see. Yeah, I've still got a little while. I think I can make it to the end of the show. All right, Bourbon Cam. Also, I want to show we've had a couple more donations. Thanks, Ann Bostic, for donating. Remember, and thanks, James, for liking. Anything you donate, doubled. Pretty cool. Let's move on. I have a story about college, and it makes me super happy that I've got at least one college buddy in here watching this with me. When I talk about college, I have to talk about my freshman year of college. Now, remember, I had already told you I got cut from the band, but I had a great time living in the dorms, and I lived in... If you ever watch a Buckeye game on television, outside of Ohio Stadium, there are two big towers, and I lived in one of those towers. It's called Morrill Hall. It's this tower right here, the one that's closest to the camera in this photo. And Morrill Tower is 22 or 23 floors. We lived on the 20th floor. And one of my most vivid memories is like 10 or 12 of us looking out one of those tiny little windows. They were like prison windows. They were like this. They didn't open. Like I remember like all of us like standing on cabinets and everything so we could look out this window. There were a whole bunch of us looking out the window at some commotion that was going on with fire trucks and police cars and people surrounding Independence Hall, which was a lecture hall up the road from Morrill Tower. So we could see it from our window when we were all crowding around watching all this commotion going on. Pretty crazy memories that I have of that. I have some memories that I can't share from Morrill Hall, but I remember like anytime something would come on campus, they would put posters up. And it's funny because now I spend my life doing campus activities, like performing on college campuses, but I was pretty oblivious to a lot of the stuff that was happening at Ohio State when I was there. But I do remember one particular poster that caught all of our attention. And for a poster to be an official Ohio State event, it had to have a stamp at the bottom, ODUA. It was Ohio and Drake Union Activities. Now at Ohio State, they call that OUAB because Drake Union isn't a thing anymore. But Ohio Union Activities Board is what it is now. But it said ODUA, which means that it was official. It had the official stamp. This is an official event. And the event was for this gentleman, the guy there on the left, Andy Richter. Now, at the time, Conan was a show. It wasn't a super, super popular show, but it was on Comedy Central. It had sort of a cult following, and Andy Richter, like, we loved this guy. He was super funny. And he was coming to Ohio State. Holy cow. Holy cow. He was going to be in the lecture hall. So we were excited, and we all planned on going. It's going to be there at 7 p.m. next Thursday. So we made signs. We love you, Andy. Andy for president. We had all of this stuff. Like super excited to do all this. And we show up at the lecture hall. We were the first ones there, by the way. We were there like half an hour. We were there 6:30, sitting in the front. The chairs were like the lecture chairs where it's the seat and the desk are all bolted into the floor and the desk like folds out in front of you. And we're sitting there like waiting to see, a night with Andy Richter. And we were the first ones there. No lights on, right? We have to like figure out where the lights are and everything, and the stage lights aren't on. And the place fills up. I mean, we're like 300 or 400 people in this auditorium waiting to see Andy Richter. And then it's like 5 till, and the auditorium lights aren't on. And we're like, what's going on? And then it's 7 o'clock. No lights. And then it's 10 after 7, and people are getting restless. Because not only are there no lights, but we don't see anyone from ODUA wearing like their little t-shirts and stuff. And then it's 20 after, and someone from the facilities comes in. And she's like, what are you all doing here? There's no event in here. And then someone called ODUA. Someone had a friend who was on ODUA. There's no Andy Richter event. The whole thing was a hoax. Someone went around campus. They printed out, Andy Richter is going to be here. They printed out posters. They had the fake stamp on there. They had everything on there that Andy Richter was going to be at Ohio State, and the whole thing was a hoax. And it was like the perfect level of celebrity for a hoax like that. Because there was another time that someone said, Mr. T is going to be here to teach martial arts. And we didn't even believe that because Mr. T's not coming to Ohio State for free to teach martial arts in the dorms. But this was like, Andy Richter, yeah, we could see that. We got so excited, and the whole thing was super fake. And so now, anytime I see posters on campuses, and I'm on college campuses all the time under normal circumstances, I always think about that because I think like any of these could be fake and people would show up and it'd be hilarious to me. So, it's amazing that Jimmy Mack just came into the chat room and said moondoggy. So for a few of you, you know what moondoggy means. But for most of you, you don't know what moondoggy means. But the next story that I'm going to tell tonight is moondoggy. Neil says, thanks for the laughs tonight. With all that going on, laughing really is the best remedy. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You rock, Neil. I appreciate you being here, buddy. So thanks for the chats and thanks for letting me know. Let's look at some donations here. Now remember, pinned in the chat is, what's going on here? Let's get here we go. Karen Weber followed in DeTulio. That's just your name, DeTulio? That's pretty awesome. DeTulio donated $10. Remember, when you're donating to my Streamlabs, it does not go to me. I'm taking all of that money and I'm sending it to Mid-Ohio Food Collective, but before they get it, it's going to get doubled. Every penny is being doubled by Mid-Ohio Food Collective's sponsors. And so if you're just now tuning in, you guys, I want to play one more time a quick word from Matt. I appreciate you watching this stream so far. I do have like 3 or 4 more stories, but here's a word from the Mid-Ohio Food Collective.
Thank you for joining me here at the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. We clearly are in extraordinary times, and we have stepped up and have changed all of the way we're working as a food bank and our partner agencies to get food to people that need it. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Yet we realize people need help right now, so we have been ordering food and boxing that with amazing help of the National Guard to get those food boxes out to people's cars. We are pre-bagging the produce and getting it to them. We're connecting to the homeless community that needs more meals as they separate and spread out, some of the sheltering. We're connecting to kids, that are getting food from the schools by having fresh produce there, and we're delivering food to seniors that are home and isolated. This is all about how we as a community stay connected, and that's what this is about. We've got a unique opportunity while we're social distancing for you to help, and that simply is we have a match fund that was created by some amazing sponsors, and between now and April 30th we will be matching so that you will double your impact of your donation. Please stay with us, stay home, stay safe, and most importantly, stay connected.
All right, thank you for that message, Matt. Now we're going to the bourbon cam, and it is looking poor, my friends. The bourbon level is not looking good in the old-fashioned. We need a little bit more. So my good friend Mike Dustman wants to know if this is a smoked old-fashioned. This was not a smoked old-fashioned because I literally made this 5 minutes before going on air, and I didn't want to take the time to smoke the wood chips and do that. I have found the proper recipe, and so I'll tell you about my proper old-fashioned recipe. I do 3 shots of Knob Creek smoked maple, 1 shot of water, 1 Demerara sugar cube, and then an orange peel, and then like 5 dashes of bitters, and then I mix that up real good. I sing what's the song? Pop Goes the Weasel. That's what I sing to mix it. And then I put the cherry in there, the Luxardo cherry, and that's it. That's it. That's my old-fashioned, and then 1 big old ice cube. Mark Wolf says, say hi to Ari. She's way into it, and she's 2. What's up, Ari? I hope you're doing well. I haven't seen you since you were a baby. Anyway, we were in Santa Fe, and I don't think I've seen you since then, but hello, 2-year-old Ari. And Ari also wanted to know, in my Rick Nash story, why I took my jacket off. The reason I took my jacket off was because I thought that maybe if people didn't associate me as the magician and they just saw like me wearing a different shirt, they'd think I was a different person sitting at the bar having a drink with fake Rick Nash. So, thank you so much, everyone, for your donations. These are all going to the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. Cedar donated $10. I went to high school with Cedar and hung out with her in college. She's an awesome person. Carrie Lynn, thank you so much. Another Shadow Boxer sent $20, and Mike Dustman likes it. So thank you all so much. Remember, all your donations getting doubled, going to the Mid-Ohio Food Collective. Let's keep going with stories. Let's talk about Moondoggie. I don't know if Jimmy Mack is still here, but Jimmy can tell this story better than anyone. And I should have had him remote in. Maybe if I do another one of these, we'll have him tell the story. He might tell it better than I do. So I used to do a thing at Shadowbox Live, which is a sketch comedy and rock and roll theater here in Columbus, where I would open the show. They had me as a guest. They were super awesome and kind of took me in to allow me to sort of be one of them, but not have to be there all the time and do all this stuff, which is very, very rare. So I opened the show with a trick, and then I did a intermission performance for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then introduced the second act after intermission. One night, there was what I think they call a red flag, or code red or some shit like that. Like they have a code word for it that they can say over the loudspeaker to let everyone know, hey, listen, this guy's drunk, or this table is going to be obnoxious or a problem or something. And as I'm performing, this guy starts yelling obnoxiously, "Moondoggy, Moondoggy." His friends were calling him Moondoggy, and he's yelling, "Moondoggy!" And as I'm performing, he starts yelling "Hocus Pocus," as if like he's yelling "Hocus Pocus" during my show, as if to say like, "Hey, I know what this guy's gonna say. I've seen magic before. He's gonna say Hocus Pocus. I know it. I know how these things go. Probably like an abracadabra. He's probably gonna say an alakazam, maybe a Shazam, but there's definitely a Hocus Pocus coming." And he's yelling this at me, and I have to keep reminding him to shut up. I said, "I need a volunteer from the audience." He's like, "Hocus Pocus!" And then I had to say, "No, not you." And so, anywho, I'm doing the act, and he's yelling "Hocus Pocus" and "Moondoggy," and it was super, super obnoxious, and the people around him were super embarrassed. I believe he was asked to leave. Jimmy Mack might be able to correct me on this. I think he was asked to leave. And normally people storm out angry when this happens, when they get too drunk and whatever. But this guy, he goes out into the bistro where the ticket office is, and he's yelling "Moondoggy," and he takes out $100 bill, and he slaps it on the ticket box office, and he flexes a muscle, kisses his bicep, and says, "This dog gonna hunt tonight." And then he storms out the door, never to be seen again. And I believe that is the story of Moondoggy. So the video that you're seeing here is that night. We actually have video of the guy yelling during the performance. And so if you search for on YouTube, I can't play this with the audio because it's got music that I can't play on a live stream, or it's like copyrighted music. But if you search on YouTube for Hocus Pocus Michael Kent, you'll find this video, and you can listen to this jerk yelling throughout the whole performance. So it's kind of an example of a heckler, but it wasn't too bad. Let's take a look at our bourbon cam, because it's really looking bad. It's really looking bad, you guys. Okay. All right. Liv Carroll, what's up? I grew up next door to Liv, and she wants to know, how do I donate? There's a URL pinned on the comments. It says streamlabs.com/KentMagic. When you click streamlabs.com/KentMagic, you will see a donation page, and you can donate money as if you're giving it to me. But you ain't giving it to me, because I'm not doing anything with it except for giving it straight to Mid-Ohio Food Collective, where they are doubling it. And anything you give personally, if you don't want to give today and you want to give tomorrow, anything you give until the end of this month, so another week, they're going to double as part of their COVID-19 Emergency Relief Fund. Super, super cool of them and their sponsors for doing that match. Jimmy Mack verified, yes, the man was asked to leave. Did I leave anything out from that story, Jimmy? I think I got most of the major details. I'm sure Kate was... Kate was the one that called the code red or whatever. Did you order the code? I'm right, I did. This is where, if I had that whole scene memorized, I swear I would do it all for you right now. Liv says, "Fill your drink, damn it." Well, I was thinking about bringing the bottle and all the stuff down here, but there's too many things, and I didn't want to bring them down here in the basement and then bring them back upstairs. So, Krista says, "Actually, probably the only example of a good ending heckler story." I want to look at our time. Oh, good. We're right at an hour. I have more stories. This might go an hour and a half. Is it cool if I just keep going? And will you all keep watching? I don't know. I don't even know how many people are watching. How many do we have in these days? 30. Yeah, we've still got 30 or 40 people. That's awesome. Okay, we'll keep going. You got the good stuff. Okay, Jimmy. Thanks, buddy. Jimmy Mack gave me the idea for this by him doing some poetry readings live on Facebook. And I was like, you know what? I could tell stories. It doesn't all have to be like I don't have to always be doing my skits. I can tell stories too. Krista, I was at a university, I won't say which one, but it was a university in Kentucky and named after the state of Kentucky, and it was the University of Kentucky. And I did a thing where I was like 3 people into the show, and there was a guy in the front row who was heckling me every time I brought up someone who was not a person of color, as if I was doing it like on purpose. It was 3 people that I had brought on stage. And he was like, why aren't you bringing any black people up? And that made me angry, but I ignored it. And then from then on, he got angry about it. And of course I don't do that. In fact, I try to do the opposite. I try to bring up like as diverse of a crowd as I can on stage. But really, I'm bringing up the people who I connect with their eyes in the audience. And every trick has a very particular type of person I want for it. And it has nothing to do with anything racial. It has to do with whether or not you laughed at that one joke, so I know you're gonna be a great person for this trick. Like, there are very specific definitions of people that I use in different routines on stage. And I have a formula for how I pick those people, and the first 3 just happen to be white people. Also, I was in Kentucky. Anywho, this kid starts heckling me. He starts yelling. He's talking at every routine because he was mad. He felt slighted. And I lost my shit. I normally would maybe come up with something witty, but I didn't in the time, and I actually lost my cool. And I looked at him in the eye, and I yelled, "Shut the F up. This is my effing show." I didn't say F, I said the word. I said, "Shut the F up. This is my effing show." And he shut up immediately for the rest of the show. But that's not the story. The story is that a couple minutes later, there was a fly buzzing around my head on stage. I distinctly remember, like, there's a fly. And I don't think I've ever done this before or since, but I reached out. I don't know if it was because of the spotlight on me or something. I reached out and I grabbed the fly and I caught him like I was Mickey Mouse and Jack of the Beanstalk. I caught the fly and I looked in and I yelled, "Shut the F up. This is my effing show." And it tore the house down. And it made the other thing not so bad as it would have been. And believe it or not, that kid came up to me after the show and apologized, which I thought was pretty neat. I found that most people, if they heckle, it usually has very little to do with me, and it has a lot more to do with like whatever else is going on in their life that day, or if they don't feel like they're being heard or something along those lines. So, anywho, oh man, so the final few stories that I have to tell all have to do with sort of the same stuff. And that is some of the stuff that I'm most proud of. Oh, we're going to kill this. No, we still got a little bit left. The problem with an old-fashioned is once you start adding sugar to it, it tastes like a soft drink. And I just can't keep it. I can't keep it as a sipping drink. I have to make it a chugging drink. So this is something that means a lot to me. These are all going to roll around because they normally just sit on my desk. But these are, almost all of them, there are a few other little things in here. But these are challenge coins. They also call them command coins. And when you perform for a military group, the head of the military group, the XO or the CO on that base or whatever, has a certain number of these. And he gives them out to you when you do like a special visit to the base or whatever. Sometimes... so I've got a story with literally every one of these, and every one of these, this one is an amazing story, but not for this show. But let's just say it's a crazy, crazy story. This is another amazing story. This one's from the DMZ between North and South Korea. These are from the Blue Angels. I have stories for all these, but I don't have time to tell them all. I don't want to tell them all here. I'm going to tell you about something else that happened on one of those military tours. My very, very first tour performing for the troops, 2010. One of our first shows was in Daegu in South Korea. It was a train ride. It was like an hour and a half train ride to get down to Daegu. And we had a month of shows for the Army scheduled in Korea. A whole month of shows. And all of these shows, I had like planned out outfits based on who I thought was going to be there. Like when we were in Yongsan, which is in downtown Seoul, I had a nicer outfit picked out because I thought, oh, maybe there will probably be some more important people there. But Daegu, I was like, it's a tiny little thing. And we get there, and they told me, I'm wearing like jeans and a t-shirt, and I had like an open button down, and that's all I had with me. And they said the general is in the office, or is in the audience. The general. Shit. I would have worn nicer clothes. So I went through with the show anyway, just wearing what I was wearing. And there's a routine that I have in the show, and it's changed over the years. Certainly with people being more socially aware, it's tamed down quite a bit, especially as I get older on stage. I can't get away with some of the stuff I used to get away with in terms of like raciness. But it's the chicken trick. And like I know some of the people watching, Kelly Blanton especially has been on stage doing the chicken trick. She knows what I'm talking about. And the chicken trick involves a whole bunch of stuff, but it can be somewhat embarrassing for the person on stage. And it used to involve a bit with a condom. Girl on stage would come, sorry, poor word choice. The girl would come on stage, also poor. The girl would arrive on stage, and I would make her blow up a condom. And after she blew it up, I would tie it in a knot and throw it away and say, it has nothing to do with the trick, I just wanted to see if you would do it. Of course, I don't do this anymore. But I actually have a photo of this. Let's find it. There I am. That is Daegu, my friends. That is Daegu, South Korea. And I'm performing with this girl on stage. And the soldiers in the audience were actually like catcalling her, and she was getting into it. She was having fun. And then something happened. After the show, a man came up to me. He was the XO of the base. He was like the assistant to the commander. And he said, excuse me, Michael. I said, hey, good to see you. You know, I'm in my mode, like after the show, shaking hands and everything. It was Michael. You know the girl you had on stage? I said, yeah. He goes, did you know that's the general's daughter? I said, no, I didn't. He said, the general's backstage and he wants to see you when you're done packing up. I said, I'm done packing up. So I quit what I was doing. I immediately walked backstage ready to be like, drop to my knees, mea culpa. And this guy, he was a pretty big guy. He was wearing like a Hawaiian shirt. He was like a big dude. And he looked at me, beaming eyes, just. And then he breaks into a shit-eating grin. He said, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And he shook my hand, and he coined me. He gave me his command coin. This is the command coin from General Harvey. He was a one-star brigadier general of the U.S. Army. This says, from the sea to the DMZ. It's obviously, I got a cutout. Really cool die-cast coin because it's much bigger than a normal size coin. It's the largest coin I have. It's got all kinds of great stuff. This is just the coolest coin I own, and certainly the best story of any of the coins I have. And I have a great collection. That's where I keep them. They all have amazing stories. Every one of them has its own individual, unique story. And that tour alone generated just a ton of stories. And I don't know if Mark Wolf is still here. I know it's about his daughter's bedtime. But one of the stories has to do with the demilitarized zone in between North and South Korea. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the demilitarized zone. I am going to find you some photos. That's me. That is the demilitarized zone. What you're looking at right there is the joint security area. Demilitarized zone in between North and South Korea is one of the weirdest places I've ever been in my life. It's a scary combination of tourism and machine guns and razor wire. It's an active war zone. It has been since the 60s or something like that. When was the early 60s, late 50s, something like that, whenever the Korean War was. Technically we're just in a ceasefire with North Korea, but it's still a war zone. And these blue buildings that you're looking at right there are UN security buildings. They're used by both sides. The building that you see behind me is actually a North Korean building, and right here, I can't blow it up enough for y'all to see it, but this photo, when you look at it, James Lang says 50s, thank you. When you blow it up, you can actually see a North Korean soldier with binoculars looking at us. I was there touring with about 13 professional wrestlers, and it was weird because we have to go through a very serious briefing when you go to the DMZ. They tell you what not to do and what to do. They said, when you get out of the bus, you will see North Korean guards. Don't look at them, don't talk to them, don't gesture at them, don't point at them. If you want a picture of them, take a picture of something else in the foreground with them in the background. Don't give them a reason to think that we're being the aggressors in any sort of situation, because they will log it and bring it up, as a whatever. So the first thing these wrestlers do is get out of the van and flex and point and yell at all the North Koreans. I thought I was going to see one of these UN security details chokeslam these guys. The UN security guards they're just army soldiers who were acting as UN security, so no sidearm. They have like a yellow band that says they're working for the UN. In these trailers, these blue trailers are used by both sides, so I actually got to go inside there and actually step into North Korea inside the UN trailer, which was kind of cool. There are North Korean, South Korean guards that face each other at attention all day at this joint security area. I do have more pictures. So after this, the major said, God, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He said, we're going to send you and Mark, my buddy, who went with me, we're going to send you to the third tunnel. So there's a series of infiltration tunnels that North Korea has dug to try to invade Seoul, to try to invade South Korea, and we found most of them. They think there are still more that haven't been found, but the third one, they turned into a museum, I guess you would call it. It's a tourist attraction. It's got a tram and everything. You can go down underground. You walk through the tunnel and all this. And so the bus driver, and by this time we had changed buses 4 or 5 times. We had our bus driver who was with us the whole month. We hadn't seen him in 4 or 5 hours. Then we had another bus driver that was like the base bus driver. And then we had switched to a UN bus driver who we don't know. He didn't speak any English. He could have been North or South Korean. He just works in the joint security area, right? And when they told him he was taking us to the tunnel, which is essentially also a reunification like propaganda museum, he said no. And he got mad and he got in a fight with the Rock Army guard, the South Korean guard that was there. I actually have a picture of this. Let me find it. There we go. So the guy that you're seeing that's closest to my face with the camo jacket, that's the bus driver who absolutely refused to take us. The guy with the yellow band on his arm is Private Gall. He was the UN security detail that was helping us out. And the other guy's the Rock Army guard. He's the South Korean guy. He said, never mind. The major said, we'll get you another bus driver. So they got us another bus driver, and we went to the thing. And at this point, Mark and I were like, this is super scary. They're taking us with first of all, 2 bus drivers now that we've never met. They don't speak any English. Through the DMZ. The DMZ, there's no fence between North and South Korea. There's a fence on either side, but that's like 4 kilometers wide. When you're in that area, you don't know if you're in North or South Korea. There's just roads everywhere. And he goes, by the way, the private here, he's not going to go with you because he has a head injury. We don't want him to bump his head on the tunnel. So now it's just me, my friend, and a bus driver we've never met. And we did it for some reason. And when we got there, there was no one there. This is a picture of me at the museum. This is me right outside of the tram that goes down. This is the tram you're seeing. You're looking at like this little seat. That's the tram that goes down underground and goes in. We had to take pictures here because then you had to put all your cameras and phones and everything into a locker. You weren't allowed to take pictures down in there. Nobody there, though. There's no tour that we were supposed to join. There's nobody there. So when we get there, we go through the tour, and there's one Rock Army guard, and that's it. And he gave us the tour with like broken English. And after the tour, we went through the museum, and the museum was like empty because there's nobody there. I don't know if you've ever gone through an empty museum, but we felt weird, so we sort of rushed through it. And at the end, there was a double doors. We got to the double doors, and we opened them, and there's an audience of Koreans. And I was nervous, and I said, hello. And it was like they practiced it. They all go, hello. And we got in the seat, and we turned around, and a screen came down, and it was a movie. This group of Koreans was the tour we were supposed to be on. Our bus driver was late because of the fight that had happened. We got there late. But that's not the story. The story is that the bus driver dropped us off back at Camp Boniface, which is the camp where we have 35 of our troops that are like an honor duty there. Didn't drop us off at Camp Boniface, dropped us off in like the woods outside of Camp Boniface. And for a long time, Mark and I were just like wandering around, not knowing where we were supposed to be. And finally, there was like a staff sergeant that ran by and goes, "Holy crap, what are you doing?" And he led us back to the base we were supposed to do, where we met our original bus driver, who was angry because they had kept him on the bus for 4 hours and not let him off. And that is how I almost became stranded in the DMZ. Super scary, super surreal, and just a crazy, crazy story. So I want to bring up, you guys, some of our donations that we've had. So let me get here. Cedar gave 10. James Lane gave $20. Thank you, James. Mark gave 10. Lydia gave 10. Mark Dustman gave 10. Thank you guys so much for giving to the Mid-Ohio Food Collective. Every penny that you donate to this show, that you donate to me through here, is going to be doubled when it gets back to Mid-Ohio Food Collective. I'm going to literally send that in to them tomorrow as a donation. And we're going to raise some money for those folks, because what they're doing is a COVID-19 emergency relief fund. And so because of their sponsors, they're able to double all of the money. We've almost come to the end, but on that same tour, I was, let me see where we're at here. I was in Camp Humphreys. And in Camp Humphreys, let me see if I have I do have it, you guys. This was one of my last nights in Korea. I said to this guy, I want one of those shirts. You know what I'm talking about? Like the PT shirt, the gray shirt that says Army. I said, where do I get one of those shirts? And he said to me, it's a PT shirt. I have 1 million of them. If you stay here, I'll go to the barracks, grab mine, and come back with it, and you can have it. I was like, that's amazing. And he came back with this. This is his shirt, Garcia. He gave this to me when we were there. It's like sweat stained and stuff, but in here, I don't know if you can see it, there's an X. He said this was my lucky shirt. As long as I was wearing this, he said, I've been to Iraq, I've been to Afghanistan. He said, we've been in some really heavy stuff. And this was my lucky shirt. And anytime I wore this one with the X on it, he said, we were mortared, we were shelled, we hit IEDs. No one in my unit was ever killed or injured. And he wanted me to have it. And I was like, dude, I am just a magician. Why are you giving this to me? You need this more than I do. And he said, no, man, I know you're going to go back, you're doing these college tours, and I just want you to tell people about us. So I try to tell people about this shirt and those folks all the time, because sometimes places like South Korea, you know, and some of these bases that I go to, like, they feel like they're not in the news every day, and they feel like they're sort of forgotten or whatever. So I really do appreciate what they do, and I always think about them whenever I look at this shirt. It means a ton to me. I think about like my role a lot in the world. You know, these guys, they're heroes. Like if shit gets real, like it is kind of right now, they're heroes. And I'm just like, I'm the band on the Titanic, right? That's like sort of who I am. I made this the other day. Well, it's been a while since I made that, but this is something I say in every show that I do for the military, because I really do believe it. Like, I am there specifically for morale. That's why I exist in their world. That's the only reason that I'm really there. And it really does mean a lot to me to be able to perform for them. And so that leads me to my last story. And before I do that, I just want to thank you all so much more. Olivia, thank you so much for giving $50 to the Mid-Ohio Food Collective. All of the money, and Mike Dustman, thank you so much. All of the money that you all have given during this performance of stories has, at Ponder Thompson, which is, Ponder is a young child, $10 means a lot to Ponder. How old is Ponder? He's like 8, 7. That's, you know, that's his allowance. So, all of this is going to be doubled and given to the Mid-Ohio Food Collective, who are helping people out, who are not food secure like many of you are and like I am. I'm super fortunate that through all this crap that's going on the outside world, that as much as I complain, we've got it okay. My friend CJ had a great quote the other day. He was like, that I don't remember, I don't want to misquote it, but basically, there's this thing like we're all in this together, but we're kind of not all in this together. Like, we're not really all in the same ship. We're in the same ocean, but people have different ships of different sizes and different abilities, and so I think it's important to take a minute and realize like how lucky we are. And in talking about that, I just wanted to tell you this last story. And before I get into this story, we should do this. We gotta get the cherry too. All right. God, those Luxardo cherries are amazing. Thank you to the Mid-Ohio Food Collective. Thank you to all of you who have come and hung out with me during my stories. I'm gonna leave this up for a little while so folks can watch it later if they want. Probably put it on YouTube or something. But this last story, before I go, has to do with my very last, most recent tour I did for the troops. I did an Asian tour in the month of November. And I had performed in Diego Garcia, which is another one of those coins that I can tell you about. But Diego Garcia is a tiny little atoll in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And a man had seen my show there, but I didn't meet him there. I met him in the Singapore airport as we were both flying to Okinawa. He said, "Where do you head next? We caught your show last night. It was super funny. Where do you head next?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to Okinawa." And he said, "Oh, my unit's in Okinawa." The unit that he was talking about, that's the CB story. That's about that other coin. Again, not for this show. But when we were in Singapore earlier that day, as I was walking around, I had the day off that day, and I decided to go to Universal Studios in Singapore. I took an Uber. It was the first Uber ride of my life, and I took it in Singapore, and I took it to Universal Studios. And that was the day of the 2016 election in November. And it was weird because as the results were coming in here, it was like 11 o'clock a.m., noon, as I was walking around Universal Studios in Singapore. And I'm checking my phone every 5 minutes. And my wife is texting me angry every 5 minutes. Like, I can't believe what's happening. I can't believe this. I can't believe that. Can you believe this? And I was freaking out. And it was weird. It was bizarre. And it was surreal to be so far away from all of it. So far removed. I had voted absentee before I left. But I was so far removed from that election. And such an important thing. And then in the airport that next day, or that later that night, I can't remember when it was, I run into this guy, this CO, who was asking me about where I was headed next. And I said, "Man, I just feel weird." I said, I know, like, you all can't comment on it, but I just feel like it's a mess. Like, our election system, it's a mess. He's like, "Listen, man, you're not wrong." He said, "I've been all over this world. I've lived all over this world. And it is a mess, but it's the best mess." He said, compared to like some of the other places and other voting systems and other stuff that other people have to worry about, this is the best mess. So if there's one thing that I want everyone to take with them, it's that. It's that, like, through all of this crap that we're dealing with, that's it. So you guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Michael Kent. You all know that. You're all my friends. Thank you again for all of the awesome donations. I will let you know in a post soon how much everyone donated and what the total will be when it gets to Mid-Ohio Food Collective. This has been a ton of fun. I will not be surprised if we do another one of these. So please take care of yourselves. Please take a minute to follow my Facebook fan page if you haven't already. And I will see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Good night.